It was an absolute classic. Baylor fought till the end, but the result is the result. Bears lose to BYU in overtime. Let's break it down on the Locked On Baylor basketball postgame.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor basketball postgame. I'm your host, Cam Stewart, keeping his voice down because once again, it's a small apartment and people are asleep. So turn it up in your headphones. Bears lose this one to BYU by 4 in overtime. And it's one that looked like it was over a lot earlier than it actually was. I hate saying this. I really hate saying this for a game that my team loses, but what an unbelievable college basketball game this was tonight. Like this was the very best of the Big 12 in terms of, atmosphere and shot making, and two teams that are desperate for a big win. Two teams that kind of understand the what is the word I'm looking for here? To understand how pressing this is to start getting some big wins. BYU certainly needs one. In fact, Baylor's get the St. John's win. BYU doesn't have that. And just high-end stuff, high-end shot making, unbelievable offensive display. Best I think we've seen Baylor offensively in a month and a half, maybe more, since they were playing high schools at the end of December. But they don't get the win. And at the end of the day, that is what matters. And so I'm sure a lot of you probably went through this as well, where, they're down double digits at one point and you're like pissed. Like I was pissed, man. I'm so sick of these scheduled losses that's been on the table for the last 2 years here. And then they fight back and they have opportunities to win the game and they throw a couple opportunities away, but they force it into overtime. They execute well down the stretch for the most part. And so you're kind of like, well, damn, what a fight though. What a fight. But at the end of the day, it's a loss. And so I can't, I talked about it kind of this whole week of I hate the excuse making. And so I can't sit here and make the excuse of like, well, it was a hell of a fight. They lost. And I'd like to think that they're a better team than BYU. And they didn't beat them. And you still are living on that 8-9 line of the NCAA tournament. And that win, that buzzer-beating win in double overtime against St. John's in November is not going to get you into the tournament. You can't just have that alone. And so Baylor is still searching for that signature quad one win. I know, Cincinnati might be a quad one win. I don't know how to follow it anymore. But you know what I mean. That signature win over a ranked team where they actually look like a tournament team. BYU probably just got that with Baylor because I think other people think of Baylor more highly than we do, the way that they've been playing right now. But it's a loss. There were some good performances in there. There was some good fight, but they lost. And Rob Wright and VJ Edgecombe were outstanding in this game. VJ really from minute 1 to 45 was your best player. Rob was obviously tremendous down the stretch. Just the cojones on that kid, man. Like I said it with Hatch on the show earlier today of like he hasn't done anything to prove that he can't do it in a big time environment. And he went out there and did it in a big time environment again. Like the kid just doesn't back down from anything. That's a tough SOB right there. And it was okay the first 30 minutes of the game. And then he goes nuclear the last 10 minutes and almost drags them into overtime, offensively anyway, drags them into overtime by himself. scores whatever, the last 10 or 12 points for Baylor in regulation. VJ was awesome tonight again. Like this is the VJ. Like this is the VJ Edgecombe that we were promised. We're getting it the last 3 or 4 games, specifically the last 3. He goes for what, 30, 21, and now 28. He's hitting threes out there. 6 of 8 from 3 tonight. This kid, he was a brick from beyond the arc earlier this year. And suddenly, before February, he's the best 3-point shooter on the team. 6 of 8 from 3. Jaden Nunn gave you some big baskets. I got to give it to him. Still wasn't a great game from him, but gave you some big baskets tonight. Let's stick with the positive right now in terms of who played well. And let's look at the BYU side. Obviously, Richie Saunders had some big ones down the stretch, but it was all Kanon Catchings, man. It was the Kanon Catchings show. I mean, 23 points, 8 of 8 from the floor, 4 of 4 from 3. The guy was absolutely perfect. Now, he only played 25 minutes out of 45, but he gave enough of a heat check to kind of keep Baylor at arm's length when BYU needed him to. And I mean, the kid was incredible. Like, I was genuinely thinking, I'm like, are we watching 2018 James Harden right now? Like, dude, without the foul baiting, like he was incredible in this game. You know, the freshmen played well for Baylor, but it's the old guys that I would want to step up in this game. And no one player lost this game for Baylor, but damn, Norchad Omier came close. I mean, I thought I was putting it lightly on Twitter by saying it's not one for the scrapbook. He was awful tonight. 12 and 8, but shoots 1 of 5 from 3, committing silly fouls. 2 of them were ticky-tack calls, but that last one where he fouls out is so stupid. Like, Demon did nothing in this game, and he's fouling him from beyond the arc. Like, what in the hell are you doing? And the first or second one he had in the game was the same thing. He's fouling a guy 35 feet from the basket. And Scott Drew's just like, use your head, man. And he had some good defense at times, but, I mean, he's 1 of 5 from 3. He's shooting a 3 when they're down like 5 or 6 in the final 2 minutes of the game. Just killing him, man. He's shooting shots from behind the backboard and turning it over. Like, he killed them tonight. Killed them. What is going on? I thought he had an illness a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. This is beyond that. This is like 5 bad games in a row for him. Have they figured him out? NCAA's active leading rebounder, and he gets 8 in 45 minutes. He had about 2 with 10 minutes left in the game. Regulation, anyway. He stunk tonight. Stunk. And he bailed them out. He bailed BYU out a couple times. Bailed Demon out in that overtime one I was just talking about. But my God, man. Just it was a net negative tonight. Just wasn't really good at anything. And missed free throws. How many missed free throws do they have? Norchad misses 2 in overtime. Massive free throws. Baylor ends up shooting 16 of 24 from the free throw line. What was Rob Wright? 8 for 8. Everyone else was 50%. Everyone else on Baylor's team was 8 for 16. Rob Wright, the freshman, the reclassified freshman, was the only one who had the balls to hit his damn free throws. 2 at the end of regulation to send this thing into overtime. The only one with nuts dragging on the floor. Because it's all mental. Everyone can hit free throws. But Rob Wright goes into the teeth of that environment and does it. And everyone else completely folds. 50% from the free throw line outside of your freshman point guard. Give me a break. That's a joke. And for some reason, this program, they can't freaking figure it out. They cannot hit free throws at the end of games. God, it's like your high school basketball team all over again. What in the hell, man? Get it together. It's like, it's just crazy. You watch this game tonight and you're thinking, The only two guys on this team with killer instincts are freshmen, Edgecombe and Wright, and that's it. So, yeah, it was good that they fought back into this game, and I love that they did, and they sent it to overtime, but they lost. And they probably should have lost by the way the game was going. 11 points down, 13 points down, but they also could have won that game because I think they're the better team. While they're not a great team, they're a better team, and they missed some crucial free throws down the stretch. It's just not an excuse. And again, to go back to where I started with this, I'm just so gosh darn sick of the excuses. I'm sick of them. And it's not just this year. It was last year, and it was 23 as well. Every time there's a scheduled loss, they lose. Oh, well, it's a tough road environment. Oh, well, we're a couple guys down. You've been shorthanded for 3 games now. You won the other ones. Like, how much better is BYU than Utah? They lost to Utah last week. So, that's not an excuse anymore. And let's face it, if that is your excuse that they're shorthanded, get used to it. This is the second time Jeremy Roach has been in the concussion protocol. Langston Love's been day-to-day for 3 years now. It's not getting any better. You're not getting any stronger. And yeah, you can say, it's great that we won shorthanded against Kansas State and Utah. And then when you lose, it's, we're shorthanded. Oh, it's a tough road environment. Oh, just another night in the Big 12. I'm so sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the scheduled losses. 2019, 2020, 21, 22, they didn't do that. They went on the road and they won those games. And I get we're talking about some of the greatest Baylor teams of all time when I'm talking about those years. But these teams the last 3 years are just as talented. But they're not putting it together. Let's go to the comments. I don't want to go too long with this because I got to finish tomorrow's show. Yeah, proud of the comeback. I'm proud they came back, but at some point you got to win. At some point you got to win these games, man. Roman Production says BYU scored on every single possession except one in overtime. Oh, God, that you could well be right. And you know what? What's funny about that is they didn't do it. They had no field goals last 3 minutes. They got to the line. And that first half, man, if Baylor's defense was a lovely young woman or young man, we would not need porn in the world because they were so damn easy to score on. So easy to score against them. Golly. Jaden Nunn is an absolute letdown, and O'Meara needs to get his head out of his donkey. Yeah, I definitely agree with both of those. Nunn, again, had some moments tonight, but he just has not been good enough for this team, and Norchad is really, really faltering. Scotty B, questionable calls tonight. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Obviously, Baylor had other chances to win this game, and there were some tough calls both ways. I thought Baylor got the brunt of the tough calls, but that officiating I thought sucked. I agree with King McClure. He had one of Norchad's fouls was I think it was the fourth one. It put him out with 5 minutes left in regulation. He's just that's not a foul in our league. I'm sorry, that's just not a foul. And there was some of that crap all night. I don't think it was a well-officiated game at all. And Scotty B also says Kansas could be without KJ Adams and DeJuan Harris, their starting point guard. Yeah, Harris did not play tonight against UCF. They barely squeaked out a win, a kind of a Fog Allen whistle at the end of that game, which should have been a shooting foul, was called a foul on the floor, and Kansas ended up walking away unscathed against UCF. But yes, no Harris in that game. Ankle tweak, who knows? That sounds like an actual day-to-day, not a Baylor day-to-day. And KJ Adams, did he not play against them? No, it was McCullough who didn't play against them last year. McCullough didn't play or was very limited. 4 straight wins against KU at home. This is going to be a very tough one on Saturday. I don't think Kansas is what I thought they were going to be before the season either, but still that's going to be a really, really tough one. Yeah, a lot of comments about the Raps. Will Catchings may be the bastard child of Curry and Harden? I mean, yeah, I saw a lot of Harden out there. That's crazy. Chuck says Baylor has no appetite for success, can't buy a shot in the clutch. Half agree with that. I thought Rob Wright hit some shots in the clutch, but yeah, overall your point is correct. Yes, they don't play well enough in the clutch, especially offensively, and I mean the appetite for success. That's probably a good way to put it, man. They have not handled prosperity well at all this year in the small moments that they've had it. So yeah, I gotta agree there. Scotty B, I hope Roach gets back soon. I hope so as well. But this does bring up an interesting conversation because for the most part, I really liked the way their guards played offense tonight. Like I love this game between Roach and Edgecombe. And it's kind of like, hey, this time down the floor, it's me. Next time it's you kind of deal. They can both take their guys off the dribble. They can both finish at the rim. And now they can both hit shots. I mean, Rob Wright I think they said he was 1 for 11 in his last 3 games from 3 going into this one. And he hit some big time threes tonight. Big time. So we'll see. We'll see how that dynamic is when he comes back. In fact, if and when he does come back, don't be surprised if he's coming off the bench. Don't be surprised at that. Yeah, the older players playing like underclassmen, definitely agree with that. Certainly was not a good performance from them. Alex says, play the JUCO guy or the European more. I've heard some of this on social media, especially Dubravcic from Croatia. Look, I know there's some criticism of Scott Drew this year. I still do trust Scott Drew. And if these guys aren't cracking the rotation with how shorthanded they've been, they're probably not ready to play in the Big 12. Like that's just probably how it is. Will says Norchad needed to be benched tonight. Yeah, I was actually a little relieved when he got that 5th foul, because then you had to take him out. When are we done with the Omer 3-point experiment? That's what I'm wondering that as well. And look, the stroke looks fine. And all the announcers talk about, because Scott Drew tells him, oh, it's gotten a lot better. And he's had some games where he's hit 2 or 3. But that can't be the best shot. Even if he's an improved shooter, even with how threes are viewed in basketball these days at all levels, that just can't be your best shot. It just can't be. And he takes them at the worst times. I think he's got the 2 biggest, like, Benihana memed plays of the year for Baylor. The missed 3 where he's turning around against Iowa State, turns around to the bench before it misses. That's number 1. And number 2 is tonight when he's leaking out on a breakaway and he's shooting a layup from behind the backboard that not only is he shooting from behind the backboard, the shot gets blocked and it goes off of him out of bounds. Like how much failure can you have on one play? TRBD, let's just face it, we aren't very good. Kinda, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they have the talent to be considered good, but where is the resume? That's what I'll come back to. Like, they barely have a tournament resume right now. Like, we're talking tournament, not top 3 seed, not Big 12 championship, NCAA tournament. They're barely in right now. Barely. So it's tough. Yes, none missed back-to-back free throws as well. I forgot about that. Yeah, it wasn't just Norchat. But yeah, it was really tough. Some people calling for Asamoah. I like Asamoah. Not just because he's a Boston area guy. Notice Mike Monaco, another guy from the South Shore of Massachusetts, 2 towns over from me, was mentioning that he's a Massachusetts guy. But this sounds like total kind of nerdy stuff, but I really like Asamoah's energy. I do. And I think there's going to be a time, I'm guessing pretty soon here, where he's going to play more minutes. He's going to take more shots. And it's going to be a learning process, guys, with Asamoah. It's not going to take off right away. So don't get mad with him. the way we did with Celestine. It's going to take a minute with Asamoah, and he might be able to contribute something for them at the back end of this year, but he's a guy for next year and beyond, for sure. Anthony Gasso, I don't know how we got this far into the show without mentioning this. What the hell was Conor McGregor doing there? Like, what was that? An Irish champion prize fighter is at a college basketball game in Provo, Utah. Yeah, you could take a BYU. I used to love Conor McGregor. He's not that great a guy. You added to the Locked On Baylor no context. I guess that's the Conor McGregor thing. I thought the polar bear in Arlington, Texas thing was pretty representative of that. Stephen from Virginia, man. Good point. Amazing representation of what Omir's game is at its worst, and it was at its worst tonight. He misses a 3 when they're down 3 and then promptly fouls out and the game's over. So, that's definitely the way I would look at it. Boston Straw puts up a good point here. There's a couple different ways to think about clutch. He says, I'm not worried about the clutch. Every time they had a chance earlier in the game to make a run and take the lead, something stupid like turning it over and an inbound pass kept them from getting back in. I would say they also had some points in the first half and specifically early in the second half where Baylor did not let the game get away from them. And that's kind of important. It's not better than losing the game. But like, there is something to that, but yeah, down the stretch, I don't know. 11 players versus 7. Yeah, the refs weren't good. Anyway, at the end of the day, you could be proud of some things, but bottom line is, I think Baylor should have been better than this team, and you missed an opportunity to cash in on a Big 12 road win. That's not going to be as tough as some of the other ones remaining on your schedule. So, yeah, I just, that's tough, man. That's tough. And you need to start stringing some big wins together, like some important wins. I know you were on a bit of a run, 2 on the bounce heading into this game, but you need to start doing that. And I guess the good thing is you have an opportunity. Good teams see this Saturday as an opportunity. I'm hoping that Baylor sees it as an opportunity, but I'm petrified that it's going to be seen as an excuse. You lose to Kansas, no sweat off anyone's back. Everyone loses to Kansas. And if they go into that mentality, they will do that. They will lose to Kansas. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. We'll do a small little KU preview. We've got Wicker Wednesday coming up tomorrow morning. We talked about some big-time Baylor recruiting strategy. The Sensational Six is what they're being called. We're going to break down those guys, as well as obviously have a bit more measured reaction to this game. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Can Baylor pick up the pieces here? How bad was this loss? What do they do going forward? Do you still see hope with this team the way it's constructed right now with Rob Wright and VJ Edgecombe, and maybe Norchad plays like a regular college basketball player again? Let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you guys are in on this live chat or watching later. Like the video. It helps out a ton. No, seriously. And then if you're on your way to work tomorrow, listen to Locked On Baylor wherever you get your podcast, because that helps out the channel even more. Thanks for making it your first listen today and every day. Like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, all that good stuff. Tell me how much you love Baylor, but how much you hated this game. Let me know in the comment section, and we'll see you in the morning on your favorite show, Locked On Baylor. Thank you, guys.